If Gerald Wingrove handles metal with consummate ease, there's good reason for it. He spent the first 16 years of his working life as a lathe operator. In those days, modelling was simply a compulsive and long-standing hobby. When he eventually branched out on his own, he started by making film props and the prototypes for mass-produced toys. Now he makes only what he wants to and sells to collectors. He's particularly pleased with his wheels. Here he's drilling spoke holes in a wheel hub. In fact, he believes it was his accuracy in the size, number and angle of the spokes that first set his models apart from those of others. When he started to make cars, the cheapest outside quote for rubber tires was £90 a set. So characteristically, he decided to set to and work out how to do it himself. His techniques are indeed often self-taught. Chosen to model. This is a tulipwood Hispano-Suiza that he's working on at the moment. He must then make his plans, and technical drawing is another self-taught aspect of his work. Not just fixing positions, but planning the size of every tiny metal part. And every Wingrove model has several hundred of those, a mind-boggling three-dimensional jigsaw. There's no glue here, it's an engineering feat. This is the 1913 Mercer Raceabout. What are you aiming for when you build a model car?
Just to show the character of the original, so that the model would give you the same feeling that the full-size car did when you first saw that.
Are you wholly accurate?
We are accurate in that we start with an actual car in the first instance and photograph and measure this, but we do use license on one or two items to emphasise the character of it, on such things as the seats, where if you use leather you would get the grain wrong, so on the actual model we use paint, and also on the dashboard, which on the actual car would probably have been mahogany, but on the model is pear wood, because the pear wood has got a more realistic scale grain. In fact, I didn't photograph this particular car myself. This was photographed in dimensions to my instructions by the staff of the Hurrah Museum in Reno, Nevada, because there isn't an example of a Mercer raceabout in Britain.
Now, there's no engine detail on the Mercer, but on this Tin Lizzie, lift up the engine cowling, and there is a beautiful miniature facsimile of the business end.
Well, the Model T Ford was built in the first instance as an exercise for myself to build a model with a fully detailed engine, as against those on the smaller scale which don't have any.
You've got proper working suspension here. Is that a regular feature of your work?
It is a usual feature of the models in that all the suspension is made as if to work, but normally I run silver solder through the leaves of the springs, because if you leave it with the operating suspension, people tend to play with them. Well, the Model T Ford engine is detailed from the underneath and the top, and also the car is detailed underneath and the top, which isn't always the case. With models, one can have them in any shape or form, in any description. If you want a fully detailed model, you can have that. If you want a partly detailed model, you can have that. It just depends on the price you want to pay.
And the Ferrari is partially detailed?
The Ferrari is only detailed on the top of the engine, as can be seen through the bonnet. With the Ferrari...
The door's open, did you push the little popper there?
Yes, the door catches work, and also there's a catch underneath the dash.
And you push the actual bonnet catch on the fascia? And
well, the bonnet catch isn't to scale, but it's in the right place, but the catch that can be seen inside the bonnet, as distinct from the one underneath the dashboard, is correct, and also works in the right order.
Little tiny watch-sized parts there, right down to the little plastic bag for the windscreen washer. How do you chrome these pieces?
Well, these in fact are chromed for me by an outside company, and this is the only part which I don't do. I make the bodies and the tyres and the wheels and the engines and everything except the plating. It wouldn't be worth my while with the amount of plating I have to do to set up a plating bath, and provided I don't present them with a fistful of tiny pieces, they are quite happy to do this for me.
All your models are extremely substantial. I mean, one feels, I mean, I won't, and that's a promise, but one feels that one could drop that from about 18 inches and nothing would happen to it.
Well, this is because they're built in metal. If you built the bodies on that, for instance, out of wood, you would have trouble with it expanding and contracting and cracking the paint surface. On this, it's good for all time.
When it comes to automotive romance, you can't do much better for English enthusiasts than show them the baby MG.
Yes, this is the 1933 J2 MG, one of several I built, the original commission being for the National Motor Museum. The one they have is black with cycle fenders. This one I built for myself with the swept fenders, which I thought was more typical.
And with the arrival on the scene of the John Player Special, we've covered 60 years of motor racing history. Why did you choose this?
This was chosen for me. This, in fact, is Emerson Fittipaldi's World Championship John Player Special, and it is part of another collection which I'm building for the National Motor Museum. I build a model of the World Championship Grand Prix car each year. I enjoyed building this particular model because it looked as though it had been designed by someone who enjoyed designing it. What was of particular interest was building the engine and all the accessories around it.
Whatever fields Gerald Wingrove goes on to, his cars have certainly left an individual mark in the modelling world.